Good afternoon everyone, and welcome on board this live safari for the sunset show. It's a hot afternoon in the Sabi Sands here on Djuma and Arathusa, and hot meaning 28 degrees Celsius and 83 degrees Fahrenheit, considerably warmer than the weather we've been experiencing over the last 2 days, as we had cloudy, drizzly weather. But thankfully the sun is out and we are ready for some action. We are on Arathusa, and for those of you who have never joined on a live safari before, I guess I should start off by introducing myself. I'm Scott, and I'm teamed up with VM on camera today. Jamie, the other presenter, you will meet shortly. She's headed out with Jandre, and they're going to stay on Djuma. We're going to start off here on Arathusa and see what we can find. Well, we've got a lot of viewers that have been following this show for many years now, but for those of you who are new, it's important that you understand that not only is it live, but it is also interactive, and you can send questions to us or comments at any stage. And to do that, you can hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. Two other very important members of the afternoon's team are Nikki and Jess, who are in the final control room, and they'll be deciding which vehicle to shuffle you guys across to, depending on where the action is. And there weren't any major reports of any sightings here on Arathusa this morning, so I've come across here for two reasons mainly. One being a change of scenery, and the second being the very small hope or chance of seeing the Anderson male leopard. We've only seen him a couple of times, and the only way we're going to get to see more of him is if we do spend more time on the western portion of Arathusa, which is the furthest this territory comes into the areas that we can traverse. For those of you who were not on the sunrise safari, I can give you a few updates. Jamie will be able to tell you more about it than me, because she took you on most of the drive as she was finding all of the animals. The hyena den site that she found yesterday afternoon was highly active, so she had a great sighting there. And she also found elephants, giraffe, and a number of other animals to show you, whereas VM and myself weren't in the fortunate position to find so many animals. Still had a great morning out, and that's the important thing to remember when on a live safari. You just never know what you're going to find or see, and that's what makes it so enjoyable. If we knew where all of the animals were and they were collared and easy to find, I know I certainly wouldn't be nearly as excited about this job. And for any of our new viewers, it's important that you understand how much this area has changed in terms of the green and the injection of life with all the vegetation. About 2 weeks ago to 3 weeks ago, this area was brown and dry, and now there's been a huge influx of growth. And Pamela has just sent through a tweet mentioning how she's noticed this drastic change in the life of the vegetation. And you're 100% correct, Pamela. Nikki and I were looking at a few areas that used to be dry and dead and dusty just a few weeks ago, and now are carpeted in green. Now, every time I come and check out this dry water hole, which will fill up with water in the coming weeks, I always like to check around this little corner here in the hope that we're going to find something resting in the afternoon shade here. But no luck, and one day we will find something in that shady patch. So remember it, this is called Red Dam where we are here on Arethusa. It's not much of a dam at the moment, but like I said, it will fill up when we get some more rain. Anyway, we have got some good news, and Jamie would like you all to jump on board her vehicle as she wants to say hello and also show you a beautiful antelope that she's found for you guys. See you later. Okay, well, welcome back everyone. I'm glad you got to hear my whistling over there, and obviously Jamie's in a bad signal area or has jumped off the vehicle to round up some lions for you, who knows. But you're back with me, not that you ever left, but good to continue the adventure with you guys, and that is the beauty of being on a live safari. You get to see everything happening firsthand, and there's no ways we can stop, rewind and edit moments like that, and I think that's quite great actually. So we're about to dip into drainage line called the Murakeni drainage, and I'm not convinced as to how good the signal will be in there, but the good news is Jamie has finished doing whatever she was doing, or the signal has rectified itself, and she is now ready to receive you. So let's see if it works this time. You should be all of a sudden transported onto a different vehicle.
Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to the Sunset Safari. This is now the second time I've done this good afternoon this afternoon. The first time, due to technical gremlin attack, we didn't actually get to send out to you guys, but hello and welcome. My name is Jamie and I have Jean-Dre on camera with me. A little bit earlier, during our first non-introduction, we stopped at a lovely herd of impala. They have now shifted off into rather thick bush, but we'll see if we can have a look at some of the individuals within the herd. They seem to be enjoying this glorious change of weather as much as I am. It's still a bit breezy, but it's definitely nice and warm in the sun. So nice to see things sunlit once again. Just look at the gleam on their coats. Everything feels just that little bit cleaner out here at the moment. And some of those females are starting to look rather large and bulging in odd places. We're all looking forward to the new arrivals that are due in about 2 or so months. Be an exciting time out here. Now, in terms of my plans for this afternoon, didn't really have many tracks to go off this morning on the sunrise safari, but I do hear that Scott had tracks of a male leopard around Central Junction Nyala Road moving east. So my plan is to head across there a little bit later to see. Oh, we've got a whole load of them coming through here. See if we can get some spectacular jumps. Oh, that's fast. don't think this is in response to a predator, the sudden dash. There were no alarm calls or anything like that, but probably what happened was somebody startled. Look at the way they're clearing that road, it's incredible. There's more coming. Woo! Bouncing across. The most phenomenal athletes, these antelope. I said I don't think that it was due to a predator. There were no alarm calls. None of the rest of the herd look in any way unsettled. That was probably just one of them startled and decided to move across to the rest of the herd, and that herd mentality kicked in, and they all started dashing across to get back to the safety and numbers principle. But nevertheless, let's go forward a little bit and see if we can spot anything in the bushes. There's a nice thick drainage line in there, so it's a perfect place for a leopard. And this is good hunting weather as well, with this light breeze or gusts of wind to keep the prey confused. Oh, there's more still coming through. Come on, you're late. You're straggling behind. There we go, I think that might be it. Double check in here just to see if there's any hint of any threat, but I don't think so. None of them are looking over their shoulders either, which is usually a good indication if you've got frantically running animals and they're looking backwards all the time. A much higher chance that it's in response to a predator. Now, I mentioned in my first introduction that didn't quite happen, that just before we went live, Jandre and I saw the banded mongoose that are living around Twin Dams. I was really excited. It's the first time I've ever seen them here. Unfortunately very thick, and the chances of us getting a visual, they dashed off almost immediately after we came around the corner. But still, really exciting to know that they are around. It's the first time I've seen them since I started working at WildEarth. I know that Scott's seen them once or twice. I'm not sure about the others. But the one thing that really struck me about that is all of the banded mongoose that I've seen in this area while I've been working in this part of the country have been grey. And these were rich chocolate brown, which I've never seen before. It was a total first for me. Really interesting. I had no idea that there was such a level of colour variation within banded mongooses. Really interesting. I'm just coming up to Treehouse Dam. It's one of the dams that's maintained quite a lot of water still. Let's see if we can spot anything around here. Some jugger boys at the back there. Let's go have a look at these boys for the moment. Actually been quite surprised. Jandre and I myself were talking about this earlier. When I first started working here, it felt like you couldn't drive a road without seeing a herd of dugger boys or old gentleman buffalo. And recently it hasn't quite felt like that, and I don't quite know what the reason behind that is. I'm not sure why there seems to be less on Djuma. But it definitely feels that way. Let's go see this guy who's been clearly wallowing in the mud. They've obviously decided that the best way to greet the arrival of the sun once again is to spend some time in the mud at Treehouse Dam. A lot of them are completely caked in it. up here and have a look at this gentleman for now. Let's see. We are observing these gentleman buffalo enjoying the new growths of grass. We've got a wonderful message from Steve and Jenny Lawrence, who are watching in southern France on a big screen. Well, welcome to these live safaris. It is great to have you on board with us and on the back of the vehicle. And if you have any questions or anything you'd like to ask about what it is you're seeing, please send them through. Everything is happening in real time right here on Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. And the wonderful thing about live safaris is you just never know what you're going to get. It's half the fun. There's always a surprise awaiting every corner. See how bright green everything has become, and I'm sure many of our regular viewers who've been watching over the last few months the change is absolutely remarkable. I feel like it gets greener every day I come out here. We've just had that little bit of rain necessary to get the growth going. Well, there you go, Donna. If you go away for 2 weeks and you come back, everything changes. And it really has been remarkable. And I'm not sure if it's just a sheer coincidence, but we've had a sudden increase in babies everywhere and lots of mating leopards and mating lions. There's definitely spring in the air. Now I know that Gendre is shooting straight into the sun, so I'm going to scoot back so we can have a look at a closer look at some of the boys who are coming up behind us to the east of our position. Let's get a nice look at them and their spectacular horns that you get on some of the buffalo bulls here. All right, boy. Now, I mentioned earlier that I haven't seen as many Dugger boys, which is the name that we give to groups of male or lone buffalo. Dugger meaning mud, and they usually are covered in mud. They spend a lot of their time cooling off and wallowing away to get rid of the parasite load that they carry. And I don't know why it is. They must obviously have moved either with the rest of the herds or to slightly better grazing grounds. I'm not sure where though. Maybe closer towards the rivers. Either way, in my head, there's been a definite drop in male buffalo sightings. And it's strange because there are so many wonderful mud wallows to see them in. I'm not too sure. I don't know if any of you guys have an opinion as to why it is our buffalo boys have not disappeared, but at the very least moved or reduced in number. They're still around, but I'm not sure. Maybe you guys have theories? You can send it through to #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv, trying to get us a nice view of the buffalo boys. We try looping around, see them from a different angle. Oh, and a big thank you to RC in the Netherlands, who worked very hard at figuring out what our mystery moth was from the other day. The other morning on the, I think it was the sunrise safari, picked up a random moth that was on my leg that I'd never seen before and had no idea what it was. And I went through all the insect books, couldn't find an answer to it. And RC eventually found me some solution. And it looks as though it is, what was it, an Ethioterpia marmota. You'll have to excuse my mangling of the Latin. But a thin marbled lichen moth. But it's amazing that we've got such a dedicated group of viewers and such a vast database of knowledge. I'm not sure how you found it, RC, or if you're watching, but thank you for that. And something that I will never forget as a result. Here we go, still struggling to get a really nice view of these buffalo boys, but they're at least moving in our direction now and not straight into the sun. We just listen for a moment to the birds that are calling around a buffalo herd. I was hoping to hear some more oxpeckers. We've got the little fork-tailed drongo chirping away. It's those little tweets are the tweets of a fork-tailed drongo, a little black bird that is very often seen moving behind herds of various animals. And it comes through to pick up all the insects that they disturb as they move through and feed. I was also listening for the sound of oxpeckers. I think maybe because these buffalo have just come out of the muddy water, they don't have as many. But oxpeckers are usually the giveaway sound for something like a huge herd of buffalo like this. Just look at the tremendous size and power that these animals have. And you think that with a size like that, competing over the same feeding patch. That was a surprisingly peaceful interaction, considering they're right on top of each other. Okay, quick update from Deb saying that there's 2 vehicles at one of the Djuma waterhole, and for any new viewers, there are 24-hour-a-day cameras up there. Let me just hop on the Game Drive channel and find out what's happening there. Afternoon stations, Jamie WildEarth, are there any updates? It was very dry, thank you Texan. Copy that, thank you. What is the update? Copy that, thank you. How many vehicles at that sighting? Copy that, thank you. Please may I join you? Copy that, thank you. That was highly entertaining and one of Taxon's very dry moments. I asked him if there were any updates. He said yes there are, and then there was silence for a moment, and then he said, I asked him what the update was, and he said, well, there's some impala on quarantine clearings. And then I laughed, and then he said, no, there's a lion at Gowrie Dam, so let's go see the lion. Highly entertaining. Oop, let's get ourselves out of here first in one piece. That was very funny. I think he enjoyed drawing that out as much as possible. It's a bit difficult doing a Ferrari safari through the block. I know we've managed it on occasion, but I'm going to try and treat Jigger with a bit of gentleness. Over the last few days, Jigger's had to work fairly hard off-road, as has poor Gendre. Sorry, Gendre. Here we go. Now, one lioness at Gowrie Dam. I wonder who that could be. Very interesting news. But thank you for that update, Deb. I didn't hear it getting called in on the radio. So thank you for that. We might never have known. Let's try and get there as quickly as possible so she doesn't disappear off into that mixture of drainage lines that's north of Gowrie Dam. Jigger, I have to take it fairly carefully around corners. And as we zoom away towards those lions, we've left the buffalo forgotten for now. Excuse me. Thank you. We have a question coming all the way from Gibraltar from Ian. Welcome to the Sunset Safari. Now Ian would like to know if the Cape buffalo that we were just looking at, if they're the same species that you get all the way up in Kenya and Eastern Africa. And they absolutely are. There's no genetic break all the way from the Cape to sort of up into Eastern and Northeastern Africa. And then the other different species that we do get is more towards the Western Central Africa, and that is the forest buffalo. Thanks, Gendre. My library is making a break for it. But yes, they are the same species all the way up from Cape Town and all the way up that area. As far as I know, there aren't even agreed upon subspecies or anything like that. They are all just Cape buffalo. Question on everybody's minds as we make our way towards this lion sighting is it that one Nkuhuma lioness that we saw mating with the Birmingham boys earlier this week or earlier last week? Is on exactly the same wavelength I am, trying to figure out which lioness it is that we are racing towards. I suspect it's the Nkuhuma lioness, or one of the Nkuhuma lionesses, not necessarily the one with the Birmingham boys, but it's so hard to tell. And there's been such an enormous shift in the lion dynamics in this area over the past few weeks and months that it's almost impossible to say for certain. You know, when I started working here, there was a level of almost predictability to who you were going to see where. And then for any new viewers who might be joining us for the first time, Djuma's actually been essentially the heart of a pride takeover that happened. 5 young males walked in and displaced the dominant males, 2 dominant males who are slightly older, actually quite a bit older, and as a result caused quite a great deal of friction and chaos in the lion world. They killed a couple of females, they killed the cubs that belonged to one of the prides in this area. So it has been a time of tumultuous change. And we're still desperately trying to keep up with the backwards and forwards moments that have happened out here. We're nearly there. We're getting to quarantine clearings where Taxon told me there is a herd of impala, very kindly. I don't think we'll be stopping for the herd of impala though. The flash of a buffalo out of the corner of my eye, another one of those Duggar boys, and I posed the question as to why it is we haven't seen as many as we usually do. Not that they've become uncommon, but just far fewer. And B. Wilson, you were wondering if it's to do with the increased lion activity. Entirely possible. It could be a number of factors at play, but that could well be one of them. The Birmingham boys, the young males who made themselves known here a couple of months ago, they are renowned buffalo targeters. Oh, there's a herd of elephants as well. How interesting. I'll come back to the herd of elephants. Let's go see what's happening with this lion first. Although I think these Ellies are going to move down to the dam as well, so we might be able to get both of them together. But it does mean the end of our Ferrari safari. I'm not going to be racing around the corner into an Ellie. Interesting. Okay, I mean, I know we're now really spoiled for choice, but we've had a lot of elephants over the last few days. And as much as I'd love to come and say hello to this herd, we can save that for later. Let's go. Oh, marabou stork. My word, it's all happening here at Djuma Dam. Let's go figure out who this lioness is. Oh, I can see her from here, actually. We peer off into the distance before I start heading across. There's our lioness. Can you see her, Jandre? There we go. There's her head popping up just in the middle and to the right of your screen. That's where she's hiding. Let's go find out who she is. And that's our marabou stork. And the Ellies are on their way. I'm about to hit an elephant roadblock. Try and edge forward. Okay, she's lying down, so I'm not going to try and speed past these elephants. They're very clearly on their way to have a drink. It's alright guys, I'm not going to block your path. Feel free to come through. I feel as though they have right of way. This is their home. Hello guys. I'm not going to be doing a race anymore to that lioness. Just let this little family through. And that's what I mean about live safaris being full of surprises. We're on our way to a lion sighting and have to stop to let a herd of elephants come through to drink. And because she is lying down, let's see if we can just get them drinking. I don't want to miss that if they do go down to the water. They've got that elephant water walk about them. They just get so excited. Look at them go. Oh, drink time, drink time, drink time. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to go to the elephants and watch them drink, or do you want to go see who that lioness is and come back for the elephants? This is a tricky call. Oh, there's one behind me. Sorry. Sorry, madam. Didn't see you there. I think let's catch a nice image of them drinking and then go and see the lioness. She's not moving anywhere. I can still see her perfectly. In fact, if we position ourselves right, we should be able to get both. Oh, elephant water walk. So exciting. It's time for a drink. Thirsty. So thirsty. Oh, they are just my best. Standing by. Copy that, thanks, I'm on my way. Saxon just telling me to come and join him at that lion site, and there she is, just at the top of that elephant. There's a little tawny patch in the background. That's the lioness that we're going to go and see. Nice! 2 of the big 5 in one frame. Just listen to the sound of these Ellies slurping away. What a nice mixture of ages we've got here. And a very, very peaceful scene. It's funny, but I'm starting to, after the last 3 or so days of multiple elephant sightings on Djuma, I'm starting to actually recognize individuals now. At the very least, I know this one on the far right that Chandra is just coming into. Here you can see that distinctive notch in the tusk as she drinks this nice clean water that's pumped through into this part of the waterhole. Now, for those of you who are stressing about the lioness, that's why I just wanted to show you every now and again that she's still there in the top of the screen. She's absolutely doesn't look like she's going anywhere. It's hot. She's found a shady spot. The only thing that might make her move is if the elephants start heading in that direction, and if I see that's going to happen, then I'm immediately going to loop around. It's very, very common for elephants to chase lions. Now, I definitely recognize this female. I think from, was it yesterday's sunset safari, with that clear notch on her left tusk. It must have been just before we found the hyena den. It's amazing how when you spend a lot of time looking at them, you start to really get to know them. And that trunk, for a full-grown elephant, with each sort of drag of water up into that trunk, each trunk full of water that she then transports into her mouth, for a full-grown elephant, it's probably about 12 liters. In her case, it's probably something more along the lines of 8. It's still a massive amount of water that they need to consume. And although they don't need to drink every day, if there is water around, they absolutely love it. And they will drink at least once a day. You can see how happy they are in their body language. Gusting wind out here. it's not uncommon when you do have big herds that have been wandering around for them to split off. And this big female that we're looking at here, in this particular case, would be the higher ranking or the most high ranking female in this little herd. They might have just split off from the rest of the group, and then they'll come back together with them later in the day. But she will be the guardians of this group, just by sheer age and experience. Now, let's gauge the direction they're going to go in. Looks like they're coming to stay on this side of things. We've got Ellies coming through right in front of us, and they've had this wonderful drink. And Jerry from Maryland, welcome to the Sunset Safari. The baby's slipping on the sidewall there. You were wondering where this little waterhole is, and we're right outside Vuyatela Lodge on Djuma Game Reserve. So we're right at the Djuma waterhole. This particular section is pumped by a borehole. But there's also the muddy pan of a natural waterhole in front of us where these elephants are passing. And Jerry, if you are unfamiliar with this area, there is a dam camera up that operates 24 hours a day. So, and it comes complete with a microphone as well, so that you can hear what's happening out at the dam. And as the elephants pass underneath it, we'll just point it out to you. That is the dam camera, and that is actually how Deb managed to point it out. There you go, in the top of the tree there. That's how Deb managed to point out that there were two other vehicles at Djuma Dam and was wondering what they were looking at. Okay, and we've been spoiled for choice. I did just want to let the elephants have a drink first. But now let us head across the dam wall, because my curiosity is burning as to which lioness this is. And I think let's go see who she is as we trundle behind the elephant traffic jam, of course, naturally. Very, very interesting. I'm betting Kahuma lioness, just because that seems to be the most. Whether or not it's that female who's been mating with the Birmingham boys, we'll just have to wait and see. But shame, the poor Nkahuma pride has suffered quite substantially. When I first started working here, there were 8 of them. A very strong pride. Alright, big girl. Sorry, I'm not going to drive right behind you. You carry on as you were. There's little hints in elephant body language, and the most subtle stopping and ever so slight turning of the head was her message to me to please stay exactly where I am while she leads her family away. Which is fair enough. Family of disappearing bottoms. Off they go, swinging their trunks, and each trunk, well, they probably had about 5 or 6 mouthfuls from their trunks each. And we had a question from Ruth as to how much one trunk full can hold. Now, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, if it's a full-grown cow or the very least a full-grown bull, it will be somewhere in the region of 12 liters. So that's a huge amount. I wish, now Ruth is from Costa Rica, I'm not sure. I think you probably use liters as well, but correct me if I'm wrong. Unfortunately, given my very poor grasp of gallons, I'm completely unable to convert for you. But I'm sure we can find out from somebody else what that is in gallons. For the younger ones, I'd say it's probably, for the little ones, probably half of that. So some of the mid-sized calves are getting maybe 6 liters of water, and then the slightly older cows would be about 10 liters of water per trunk full. So in that one sitting, or standing and drinking moment, they would have consumed probably in the region of 60 liters each, maybe a little bit less for the little ones. Ellie roadblock. There's no rushing on a live safari sometimes. You just have to wait for your moment. And they've decided that this junction that leads across the dam wall is the place to stop and have a snack. And I can't argue with them. We had another question just while we were on the subject of trunks. And that question came from Donna, and she was wondering if elephants breathe through their trunks or through their mouths. And they breathe through their trunks like we do most of the time. We breathe through our noses, but that doesn't mean, like for example, when I have a cold, which I do, I can breathe through my mouth out of necessity, and so can they. And even one of the most amazing things to watch is to watch them move through water, and they can use their trunks like a snorkel. So they can, even if they're completely submerged underwater, that trunk can pop out and help them breathe. And that trunk is the most amazing multi-purpose instrument. Really is quite phenomenal. There's nothing like an elephant traffic jam to keep you occupied, but really we cannot argue with this. It's such a peaceful moment. A little bit of discipline there. Sorry guys, just bear with me for one moment. I just want to hop onto the Game Drive channel and hear what that update was. Okay, they're still having a conversation, so I'll wait until they're finished. Now we have a wonderful update from some of the viewers who keep up with the happenings, not only from our live safaris, but also the updates of the lodges around us. And that's so important because some of those areas we cannot drive along. And Sarah, who is 17 years old and from Ohio, Sarah, I'm so sorry. I know that yesterday I promised to finish giving you an update on the Birmingham boys, And somehow we got completely distracted between the giraffe and then the elephants and the hyena cubs, and I never got around to it. But Sarah's sharing the information that apparently there's an update from Cheetah Plains to the south of us, that the Birmingham boys, or at least one of the Birmingham boys, is still mating with an Nkuhuma lioness, so this must be a different one. And the rest of the Birmingham boys, as far as I know, excuse me, we're on Vessel's property, which is also known as Little Gowrie, which is that block to the south of Gowrie, Main, right on the corner of Triple M, just past our boundary. So they are still in the area, but it's wonderful that we get so many updates from different areas around here. That lioness, never fear, is still lying down. I can hear the radio traffic. Now that I have a moment, I'm just going to hop on the Game Drive channel and just call Quibus for that update once again. Quibus for Jamie. Sorry Quibus, what were you saying is on Cheetah Cutline? I didn't quite copy that update. Copy that, thank you. Okay, let me see if I can loop around this female now. She is fairly relaxed. Let's see if we can't, if not get around her, then just go and get a different view of her. Although she's got that look like she might start moving away. And let's go see if we can figure out which Nkuhuma lioness is on her own here. Here we go. Thank you, big girl. One last view of our Ellie as we head off down the drainage line. Let's see what we can find. I've started always putting my vehicle into low range to cross the, because I'm starting to think that that crack in the road over the next couple of big rains, this road is going to disappear completely. So I'm trying not to make the issue any worse. Sure, how lucky have we been? 3 of the big in less than an hour of drive? How's that? Not too shabby. Let's go see this lioness and who she is and what she's up to. And of course that begs the question, if the one is on Cheetah Plains or around the southern boundary mating with a Birmingham boy, and one is here, where on earth are the rest of the Nkuhumas? What's happening with them? And the question on everybody's mind, and it's been a long time since we have heard about him, but where is Junior? Now for those of you joining us for the first time, Junior is a sub-adult, almost adult male lion. He was the only male within the Nkuhuma pride, or the only young male within the Nkuhuma pride, and just approaching that age as the takeover time to start heading out on his own. So he's stuck around for longer than expected, but we haven't had any updates on him for quite a long time. Last he was seen with one Nkuhuma lioness, the one sub-adult lioness who was with the Nkuhumas, the last surviving one, and then with Junior. So there was the 3 of them moving through Simbambili. is. Let's go solve this mystery as to who she might be. Big girl. She's panting very heavily. It could just be because she's hot. Quite a young looking lioness. We had a comment from Safari Hayes, who picked up on the fact that the lioness mating with the Birmingham boys had scars on her back, and that would be a good way of identifying her. She's got a speckle of blood on her nose, tiny, tiny speck. And she's panting very, very heavily. I wonder if she didn't try and hunt something. Look how rapid her breathing is. Perfect opportunity, though, to get a screenshot of those whisker patterns. And please take them and send them through to us on #SafariLive on Twitter, or email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And let's get an ID. Lots and lots of our regular viewers have got plenty of experience in identifying different animals. So let's figure out who this lioness is. Shame, trying to catch the flies that have been plaguing her. She's got mud all over her, towards the sort of forequarters, all over her front leg. Oh, twitching away. Look at all that mud on her front leg. Shame, flies are bugging her. Sorry guys, just give me one moment. I'm going to respond to Craig, who is calling me. Standing by, Craig. I'm good, thanks, Craig, and you? Yeah, that's affirmative. I believe Scott had Nkonzo for Madoda on Central Road. Looked like they were going east around Nyala Road, South and North Junction on Central Road. I haven't been there myself. I'm just with the Smafazi Ngala at Gowrie Dam. Sorry everyone, just conferring with one of the other guides, Craig, just to make sure that we coordinate the way that we work in this area to get sort of the maximum possibilities covered in terms of looking for animals. She's got 2 scratches down her side. Didn't that lioness have 2 scratches on her side, on her right side? I'm just trying to think. I'm almost sure she did. I'm sure I remarked on it. That's interesting. Who are you? She's also got dents. I wouldn't say marks or scars, but she definitely has patches of fur on the back of her neck that look like they could have come from bite marks. I wonder if this isn't the same lioness that we saw with them. And Raisa, who's one of our regular viewers, all the way from Finland, has also picked up on the bite marks on the back of the neck. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the lion mating process, and the leopard mating process actually, which we have seen a fair amount of in the last week or so, but typically because the male's penis is barbed, it can be quite an uncomfortable experience for the female involved in it. And so what happens is, right before the end, the male grabs at the back of the female's neck to stop her from swatting him before he can finish mating with her. And then as soon as he pulls out, she turns around and aims a occasionally very vicious looking swipe at his face. And we've got some as yet unseen footage from the first night that this Nkuhuma came into the property with the Birmingham boys. We've got some unseen footage of her doing exactly that to some of the Birmingham boys, showing a streak of sheer courage from her, considering that the Birmingham boys have killed quite a few of her pride members. I'm going to go for broke and say this looks like the same lioness to me. I'm not sure if the rest of the viewers agree. Please let me know. You guys have access to some of the previous screenshots, but I'm sure I remember those scratch marks down her side. I'm going to be really, really quiet for a moment. Let's see if you can pick up on the sound of her panting, because it's audible from where I'm sitting. Of course, the Franklin have chosen this exact moment to all start shouting, but let's just give it a moment and listen to hear the sound of her. I think the wind's now blowing away the sound. No, I think probably it was a bit of a long shot to try and get you guys to hear it, especially because it is so windy. But usually lions pant like that when they've just had a meal. Although it is warm today, she is sitting in the shade. I'm just wondering why it is she's panting like that. She doesn't look terribly full to me. It's not that gorged belly that we sometimes see when they sit on a buffalo carcass for 2 days. She also is shifting around quite a bit. She looks uncomfortable. I wonder if she's feeling restless because she's separate from the rest of the pride. And if we do move away from her, then I think we'll definitely be coming back towards the end of the evening, and let's see what movement she makes. And let's see if she starts to try and at least call for the rest of the pride, if not move in their direction. I'm not too sure where the other Nkuhumas are. I honestly have no idea. I haven't heard any updates, at least on the radio, for quite a long time. Near her tail swishing as well. Very interesting. I wonder if she's been lying in mud. She's even got mud on her cheeks. Quite interesting. Now, it's fairly unusual to be sitting with a lone lioness in this kind of situation. And I've mentioned that all of this has come about during this pride takeover from the 5 young males, and the fact that first of all the 2 older males have been pushed out of this area, but also that young junior, who was part of this female's pride, he will also have left and headed out on his own. And Ram from Bangalore, welcome to the Sunset Safari. You were wondering what happens with an evicted lion, whether or not they form a coalition and then compete to stay in the same area or to be with the original pride. And there's 2 situations that can happen. What happened with the 2 Matimba older male lions who were dominant over this pride and the other pride is that quite unexpectedly they left here and went down to Londolozi, where they've actually been competing for new territory in that area. And I'm not sure if that's because they found a nice power vacuum, but very often male lions that are being displaced will fight to the death with the incoming new lions. And I think a lot of us were expecting a clash between the Birminghams and the Matimbas. In this case it didn't happen. The Matimba males moved off almost immediately. He's definitely swishing it, trying to catch flies. With young male lions, if they are evicted, which they should be at about sort of 3 to 4 years old, as they start reaching sexual maturity and they start getting to the age when they're capable and will, if they can, mate with their mothers, their aunts or their sisters. They're not too fussy about that sort of thing. They don't know any better. And usually that's when their fathers need to step in, or other males coming in need to step in and chase them away. And if they do have brothers or cousins in the same pride, of a similar age, they'll usually hook up with them and head out. But it's not unheard of for them to join forces with other nomadic young males who've also been displaced. And they form together a coalition and they move almost as nomads until they reach the right age where they're strong enough to compete and chase away other male lions from a territory, and then start to mate with the prides within that territory. So there's a lot of complexities around male lion interaction. Giving her paw a good clean. Now that quite often, if she starts to yawn and she starts to lick her feet a lot, that quite often is a preceding movement to getting up and moving away. I'd be quite surprised if at this time of day she moved, but she might feel vulnerable as a lioness on her own in the open. Okay, so we've got some contradictions in terms of what people think as to who this lioness is. So Jack says no, he's done a full whisker spot comparison. Blair, on the other hand, says yes. Sure, Egyptian goose. You're shouting. She also looked up to see what that goose was shouting about before returning to her paw clean. So we've got 2 conflicting opinions. I don't have the comparison shots in front of me, so it's difficult for me to tell. I'm just sort of going off memory more than anything else, and I could well be mistaken. So if you can please, guys, send through comparisons of screenshots of her left and her right whisker spots, along with the left and the right whisker spots of that female that we saw. When was it? It was Thursday morning and then Friday evening that we saw them, or Saturday evening. Yes, it was Saturday evening we had them. Friday afternoon and Saturday evening. And let's see if we can figure out who this lioness is. Otherwise, have a look at the screenshots. Remember that sighting we had just before they started hunting the buffalo, when they came across from Arethusa, and both Brent and myself were there, and there were those 3 lionesses sitting on the termite mound. Let's see if it's one of those 3, or if not, then that tells us it was the female who was originally with Junior. So already we're unwrapping parts of the puzzle, if not the whole thing. Let's see if we can figure this out together. Ah, that's definitely a full belly. At least we know she's had something to eat, and we can explain the panting a little bit. That's nice to know. Oh, she's also distinctly pungent, and she's got a cut on the inside of her leg there. Can you see that, Jean-Ray, down and to the right? Is that a cut there? Looks like it. Oh my word, now that she's sat up, she's very smelly. I wonder what she's been up to. Here you go, there's a little bit of blood there. That could either have been caused by conflict with the Birmingham boys or during her hunt of whatever it is she's just eaten. There you go, you see? Said she might get up. That licking of the paws is usually what gives it away. I wonder where she's going to lead us now. Now, Trisha, you were wondering if it's possible that it is a sister or a sibling mating with the Birmingham boys, and yes, absolutely it is. I'm not too sure of the dynamics of the lions in the Nkuhuma Pride, but it is quite likely. She's just stopped for taking the moment to relieve herself whilst tucked away behind the quarry bushes in an uncharacteristic show of shyness. I mentioned as she got up that she's fairly pungent at the moment, and she's also got a full belly. But Dennis, you were wondering how drastically her hunting success rate would drop as a single lioness, and the answer is very drastically. It goes from, in a big pride with males, where the hunting success is probably around 60-70 if they've played their cards right, to right down to about 20% of her hunts. So 1 in 5 hunts that she initiates will be successful. I'm trying to get a look at that injury. It's on the other side. It doesn't look too deep. Okay, she's going to settle down there. Oh well, at least she got up to relieve herself. I've seen full male lions who've been too lazy to even manage that, and have quite simply lifted their legs and urinated on themselves. Let's reposition again so we can have a look at that beautiful face of hers. I don't think we need to worry too much about her. At least she's clearly managed to feed herself. She's got a nice full looking belly, and that scratch on the inside of her thigh doesn't look to be too serious either. And that could well have been because she is a lone lioness. It could be something that was acquired during a hunting attempt. Guys, I'm going to stop there just because I'm going to make a lot of noise if I move any further forward. Somebody's just calling me on the Game Drive channel. Bear with me for one moment. No, they're continuing a conversation. She's got her teeth are in relatively good condition. She's not an old lioness. You can see there's not too much black on her nose either. Now, both Jennifer and KG were wondering if she's panting like this because or would a lioness pant if in distress or separated from the rest of their pride. I think in this particular circumstance she's panting because she's full. She's got a fairly large looking belly, and I think she'll probably have found that she was absolutely starving after her efforts with the Birmingham boys. She probably didn't stop to eat anything for about 4 or 5 days in a row. She was already starting to look fairly hungry when I saw her on Saturday evening, so she probably killed something fairly recently and consumed it, basically inhaled it at great speed in the way that only hungry big cats can do. And I think that's why she's panting like that. But yes, animals do pant out of fear, including lions. If she was incredibly distressed, I think that there's a chance she could be panting because of it. In this circumstance, I don't think she looks too stressed out. Yes, she will definitely be on the lookout for her pride. She will definitely look to be reunited with them as soon as possible. And I'm sure we're going to see that over the next few hours. I'm not sure exactly how it is that she's going to play this out. She's either going to, with a sort of uncanny ability that I don't quite fully understand, she's either going to just get up and move in the direction that they are, because somehow she will know, or she'll call to them. She'll make very soft contact calls or roars to try and figure out where they are. I think she might go with the first option though. I don't think she's going to draw attention to herself by calling, but you never know. She might be a lone lioness, but she's still bigger than any of the threats out here except for another lion. We've got a couple of questions about the way that she's been sitting, and that's come from Dear and Sherry and Dennis. Here we go. Let's have a look. That's a puncture wound on the inside of her thigh. It could well have been caused by a horn or a hoof in a hunt. Could also have been caused by a tooth. She's walking right behind us, but you were wondering, all three of you were wondering if she's injured in some way, because she was lying with her paw turned inwards. Her front paws are fine, her front legs are fine, she's not limping in any way, but the inside of her left back leg does have a small puncture wound right on the hock there. Not on the hock, on the elbow. What is this called? Knee. There's the word I'm looking for. Chandra is giggling away in the back. Sometimes your brain just doesn't quite get there. We'll get there eventually. I have been nattering onto you for a considerable period of time. Sometimes the words just don't come. Let's see where she's going to go. settle right there, nice in the open. I will reposition so that we don't have the aerial. Okay, as I reposition, and to give you guys some time to go through and compare all of your screenshots and try and figure out who this lioness is, let us see what Scott has been up to on his Arethusa travels, and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. Sadly, no major updates from Vim and myself, but awesome news about the lioness that's been found, and glad you're spending some quality time with her, as well as the elephants before that. We've driven the whole western boundary of Arethusa in the hope that we may find some sign of the Anderson male leopard, but no joy. And we've just made it to the Arethusa airstrip, and there's a large gaggle of geese. They are Egyptian geese, and they're enjoying feeding on the new fresh green shoots popping up on this open plain. I haven't been able to copy any messages from the Arethusa guides, as we have to be about 100 meters away from them to hear them on the radio. So we would basically be better off with smoke signals, but from what I can tell, there is no updates on Arethusa just yet. You can see there's some construction rubble in the background there. They, I think, have finished off the airstrip, but haven't seen any planes landing here yet. That was a dirt runway about a month ago, and they've just converted it into tarmac. It's turning out to be a beautiful afternoon. It was a little bit hot for me personally to start off with, but it's cooling down wonderfully. There's a very nice breeze blowing on us from the east, and we're going to continue now in towards the area where Sindile, a young male leopard, was last seen yesterday evening. Little waterhole there that's filled up with water just from one serious rainfall that we got about 2.5 weeks ago. We've had drizzle over the last 2 days, but that hasn't contributed much to the water levels. And I'm hoping that we're either going to find Sindile, this young male leopard, or possibly even bump into his mother, who may be heading back into the area where she left him, to check in on him, or maybe call him back to a kill she would have successfully made. So that's what I'm hoping for. Other leopards that we could bump into here are Tingana, and very slight possibility Quartile as well, if they are still mating. There's been no sightings of them since we last saw them mating. I think it was 2 evenings ago. I actually also went back to the tree where I first saw Sindile. He was probably only 3 or 4 months old back then, and he had been stuck up in a knobthorn tree for about 3 full days, as his mother had successfully made a kill. It was an impala that she hoisted up into this knobthorn tree, but hyena caught wind of it very quickly, and for the duration of the time that they were feeding on that kill, he was too small to risk coming down and facing the hyena, unlike his mother, who was a bit bigger and bolder. So he spent 3 full days stuck up in a tree. Quite a hectic thought, and that was the first place I got to see him. So went back to that same very tree and reminisced. Also went back to the same place where we saw the Anderson male for the first time, and took a walk around there. So it's been an afternoon of reminiscing. Well, the good news is Jamie is ready to receive you again. Let's see if we can show you this little squirrel before we go. Our contribution to an animal sighting. There's its tail maybe. Oh, well done, VM. That's about as good as it's got for us this afternoon. And before we try and track down any more squirrels for you, we're going to send you back to Jamie with the lioness. Let's hope she either finds the rest of the pride or maybe something to hunt. See you later.
Well, welcome back, and our lioness has just got up and is walking along a game trail east, moving in easterly direction away from the dam. I'm not too sure where it is she's going. I'm just trying to stay with her. It's quite early in the afternoon for an animal like this, a big cat like this, to get up and moving, but there are no set rules, and I'm sure as a lioness on her own, she doesn't feel very settled. She's probably looking to make her way into more cover, or she's looking to reunite with the rest of her pride. And how cool would that be to see after her long separation, to see the rest of them once again? I'm sure it would be a very affectionate reunion. She's just about to pop out here on the road. There she is. To disturb her, can you just let her go ahead of me? She's done a lot of stopping and looking back over her shoulder. You can see that tail swishing in that way that it is. She's not a happy cat. She is unsettled. And looking at her belly now, it's not an enormous meal that she's had. I just need to get into contact with Craig. Let him know that she's now changed direction once again. Craig, she's now mobile north into the block, just where the dam wall meets Mvubu Road. She's heading up into the block. That's affirmative. I'll try and stay with her as long as possible. Just letting Craig know he did want to get a view of her. That's affirmative. There's a big game trail that leads northeast in there. You'll see where my tracks go off-road. Sorry guys, just keeping Craig updated. Especially when we are presenting at the same time and trying to stay with the animal. It's important just to let the other guides know where exactly it is they stand. Got her on her own, away from the Birmingham boys. And we've got an interesting question from Grace, who is from Dallas. Welcome to the Sunset Safari. Now Grace was wondering if it's simply because she's looking to mate with another male lion that she is on her own. It could be. It's unlikely she would have left them if her false estrus was still continuing. She's going to pop out. I actually think she's going to pop out on Gowrie Cutline. Let me just loop around quickly. This is thick monkey orange, which I'm not going to go crashing through right on top of her. But I do know where this comes out. Very interesting that she chose to walk this way. Grace, just personally, I don't think so. I think that her estrus cycle, or at least her false estrus cycle, is finished. Typically, if the female is still in estrus, whether it's false or genuine, the male is not going to let her out of his sight, and she doesn't want to leave him either. So like we saw with Quitile, she stuck to Tingana like glue. Wherever he went, she went, even to the point that she wound up right in the heart of Karula's territory. So another female leopard's territory. And it's the similar thing with these big cats, with lions as well. You can see her just ahead of me there. Looking for a route that I can loop around her, but I don't think we've got one. We are going to come out onto Gowrie Cutline. Now I know that occasionally if we go too far north on Gowrie Cutline, the signal does tend to be a little bit shaky. So bear with us if she does decide to go north. There we go. Got an opening here. Oh, you can hear the impala alarm calling and her presence. Oh, she's very smelly. My word. What have you been up to, madam? That is quite honestly, she must have been rolling in lion scat. She must have been. Craig, she's just coming out on Gowrie Cutline now, just by the big jackalberry. That's affirmative, Crevice. She's just going into the Milwaukee now, the big jackalberry on Gowrie Cutline. Going to let another vehicle come through and just have a quick look at her. She is going to disappear off into this drainage line, and he's just got here, so I'm going to let Craig go ahead and just have a moment with her. We're going to follow behind. I'm going to just stop at the top here and gauge her direction. Going to, a very good chance if she continues east, I'm going to lose sight of her. I'm going to try and loop around. There she goes up the bank. Unfortunately, I'm going to try and stay with her, but I do think we're going to lose her in this block until we relocate her again on Nyala Road North. Oh, she stopped right there in the bushes. Here she goes up the bank and disappearing off into that block. Let's try and stay with her for now and see how our signal goes. I'm gonna see if I can follow her. That, yeah, she's definitely eaten. Okay, let's see if we can try and stay with her up this bank. It's going to be very tricky, and I've got to avoid driving over tambuti trees. It's a tambuti thicket. But let's see, I've never tried it up this side. You never know, maybe we might be able to. wheel well on tree. Here we go. There's certain trees in these drainage lines that we have to avoid driving over. They're very, very important ecologically. The other trees that I'm driving over quite happily are bush encroachers, and they're quite a lot more resilient. Okay, keep your eyes peeled for a tawny coloured, rather smelly lioness who's disappeared in here. Oh, this is going to end interestingly for me. Where has she disappeared to? She's definitely on the move. She's definitely on the move in this general direction. There she is. Got her. Still walking. Going to have to go over a guarri bush. She's still there. We've still got her. Whoop. Now those sort of trees that I've just driven over, those are very, very resilient trees. They will spring right back up. Just going to keep finding a way. It's getting very, very thick in here. There she disappears off there. Oh, no. There's a stump here. Can't go that way. That way is... There's a dead buffalo. Is it? That's a dead buffalo, right? My goodness me. Let me just hop on the radio and let Craig know. Yeah, Craig, there's a dead nyari here. Buffalo kill. There we go. Negative, not that I can see, and she's just walked past them, but I'm still trying to get in. Okay, let me see if we can loop our way in there. That was a surprise. I thought I saw a dead buffalo, and then I thought I was going crazy and it was just a log. But that must be what she's been feeding on. But then, fingers crossed, please, please let the rest of them be here. That would be so exciting. We just have to find a way in. Oh, no wonder she's so smelly. That's the permanent. Keep coming east. Oh, my word. I wonder how long that's been there. Oh, quite a long time by the smell of it. Yes, the rest of them are here. What wonderful news. How exciting is this? There's at least 2 lionesses there. Oh, Craig, I've got at least 2 of them here. How wonderful is this? So she's not a lioness on her own. Oh, what wonderful news. The Nkuhuma's back on Juma at last. It's just to the left of where I am now, along with these 2 fuzzy Ngala. Oh, look how happy she looks. Oh, my word. That definitely explains the stench. What a nice surprise. Look at these happy lionesses. Okay, let's try and figure out a way in so we can get an idea as to who is here and how they managed to pull down what looks like a full-sized buffalo with just the 2 of them. Very, very exciting stuff. Okay, I'm going to try and loop around and see if we can get a good visual of them. Rolling over, looking very pleased with themselves.
We're definitely on the wrong side of that.
Let's see if we can get a little bit further into that clearing. I just want to do a scouting mission and see if there's a way in to this kill. But I believe congratulations are in order for Philip in West Virginia, who predicted this exact outcome. Well done, Philip. I was so engrossed in my version of my storyline that I didn't even think of probably what was the most obvious scenario. So there you go. It's an interesting clanging sound. It's the first time I've ever heard that from this vehicle. Don't know what that was. Oh well. I think I've found us an opening. Let's go find out who's here. I'm very definitely keeping my fingers crossed for Junior. It's been a long time since we've seen him. And I am still wondering as to how these lionesses managed to take out, I can only see two of them, how on earth they managed to take out a full-sized buffalo. Let me just stop for a moment. I don't want to disturb any lionesses. I just want to get an idea of positioning. The buffalo carcass is over there. There you go. You can just see it behind those trees. I've got two adult lionesses that I can see. Is there another one somewhere here? And if not, these two have pulled off a seriously impressive feat of taking down a buffalo on their own. Almost too impressive, because that looks to me to be an adult buffalo. Even with a limp, it would still be incredibly difficult. Hello, beautiful girl. Haven't you done well? She's looking very pleased with herself. Let's seriously hold thumbs that Junior is somewhere here. I don't know why it is, but I'm so hopeful that he's still around and for some indication that he's still alive. Because I'm just trying to see if that female at the back is an adult. Yes, she is. Okay, so it's not the sub-adults that I thought it might be. Sure. These females are a force to be reckoned with. If they did take down this buffalo on their own, which it's starting to look like they might have, they are seriously impressive creatures. Now, I mentioned earlier that we did look at the buffalo carcass from where we are now. It's not clearly in view. It's off to the left of us. It is a very thick block in here. So at the moment, we will reposition in a moment to see where the buffalo is, if I can. But we're still struggling with views of these lionesses. Let's just stick with them for a while I try and get a better idea as to what's happening here. And that female at the back is definitely one of the... Oh, he's so cute. Well, no wonder you were such a smelly girl. Hmm? You've got a belly full of buffalo.
Then they were down to 7 lionesses and 1 male.
That's definitely a lioness in high spirits, trying to catch the flies. And we have an update from Ellen Fowler, who is one of our long time viewers. And Ellen has an update from the Coral Rangers that the 4 Birmingham boys were seen together. One of them was still mating with that Nkuhuma lioness. So at least we have some of the answers to some of the questions. Now it seems as though these are 2 of the 3 lionesses that we saw hunting those buffalo the other night, just over a week ago. The 3rd one must be with the Birmingham boys. The 4th one is still a bit of a mystery. She disappeared off with Junior and the sub-adult lioness. We still just don't know. She's going to go and greet what could well be her mother. That lioness at the back is not young. Oh, look at how strongly bonded these cats are. Oh, sweet. And then there were 2, at least temporarily, in the Nkuhuma pride. I think she's going to go back to her. Yep. Flopped down. Now, how on earth these 2 females managed to take down a full-grown buffalo, I'm still not sure. I'm going to have to do a loop around so that I can double-check how they managed that. But Miss Jin from Texas, you were wondering what would happen if the Birmingham boys came across this carcass. Here comes the older female. And whether or not they would share it now or whether they would steal it from the Nkuhumas. Difficult judgment call. Oh, affection there between the pride members. It's a difficult judgment call. I don't think they would share it. Just a guess. I think that they would chase them away, even though they have been seen mating with the female, that younger female. And the reason I say that is because they have shown such inexperience that I think their initial movement would be to chase the Nkuhumas away. The Nkuhumas might still be able to wheedle their way back in once the Birminghams have eaten a little bit of it. But I think, given their age and the lack of experience that they've shown, even in that mating process with that one lioness, they've shown that they don't really know what to do with her because they are so young. I think they would initially chase them off. It's going to take them a while to learn what is expected of a ruling pride coalition. But these are 2 very, very happy looking lionesses. And interestingly enough, we appear to be in the sight of another buffalo kill. I'm just looking at where the lions are lying, and they're surrounded by the bleached white bones of a previous kill. So this is obviously a prime hunting spot for them. There you go, as part of the jawbone. Also looks like buffalo to me from afar. If you don't mind, I'm not going to hop out and check though. You'll just have to take my word for it. But how wonderful is this? At least we are seeing the Nkuhumas, however much smaller the pride is at the moment, but we're still getting to see them. And what survivors these females have turned out to be. Absolutely phenomenal. I'm still absolutely mind blown at the idea that they took down a buffalo on their own. Between them, they're probably about maybe 250 kilograms, if that, in weight combined. And that buffalo is somewhere in the region, I haven't seen it yet, so I'll go and have a look at it when I have a moment. But I would say that that buffalo is somewhere in the region of 800 kilograms. So they've performed something quite incredible here, these two brave girls, without the help of a big male around. But that could well explain that injury to the inside of that lioness's left hind leg. That could well have been from a horn from a buffalo. And buffalo can fight very, very fiercely when they are being hunted by lionesses. Well, I'm sure you must all be as thrilled as I am that these lionesses are back.
For the time being. Those males.
Now, at the moment, there are only 2 of them. I can only see 2 females. I've been keeping my eyes peeled for any others, but that is all I can see at the moment, and that kind of makes sense if we consider what's been happening around the area and what we have seen. Now, we know that there were 3 of them hunting buffalo a week ago, coming from Arethusa across into Djuma. We know that there is 1 young lioness mating with the Birmingham boys, so she probably came from the 3 females, and these are the other 2. And then we know that Junior split off along with his sub-adult sister, the little female, the last surviving little female, as well as another older female from the group. So it's interesting that the pride has split in the way that it has. That other female who's mating with the Birmingham boys, she will reconnect with her pride, with these other 2, over the next few days, as soon as that false estrus session ends. As for the other 3, it's very hard to tell. It's not unheard of in the middle of a pride takeover for prides to split off and head in different directions. I know that it happened with the Shimungwes, and I know that it's happened with the Nkuhumas before as well. Over the last sort of 10 years of their history, they did go through quite a trying time every now and again. And during a previous pride takeover, forgive me, I don't remember what year it was, but the pride did split off and it was unknown how many survivors there were. So it's not uncommon for it to happen. Usually the split off comes with females with very young cubs, but I suppose the same principle could apply for Junior and that sub-adult lioness.
When they cubs, hyenas, and then any new males that come to the
But really, really fascinating stuff. I'm thrilled to see these guys back again.
looks like the one on the right's got a little gash on the inside.
Now, at least we have solved one mystery of the day, and that is why when we first drove up to that lioness, she carried such a smell with her. She really was horrendously stinky. And both Susie and Marie from Chicago, welcome to the Sunset Safari. I'm glad you can watch us or we keep you going through your work hours. But you guys were wondering why it is that she was so smelly. That was obviously before we found the carcass. But I know that domestic house cats are very clean. Lions are not. They don't have quite the same standard of hygiene. They think nothing of rolling in a smelly carcass or even in other lion scat. And it just helps to increase their pungent aroma and possibly even scare things away. Oh, there you can see the wound on the inside of her leg, Gendre. If we go down a bit to the right, here we go. Here's that hole that we were talking about. It's quite deep, but it will heal up very quickly. It's amazing how resilient these creatures are. Ouch! That was almost certainly a buffalo horn. Ouch! Sorry, but yes, Susie and Marie, they're not terribly good at hygiene. They are often quite smelly. And that's because for the most part they don't need to keep themselves too secretive. The bush positively reeks of lions when they move through the area, and they use that very strong scent to help keep other predators, competing predators, away. Leopards, on the other hand, are much more fastidious. Much like your domestic house cats, they'll keep themselves very clean. Although you say domestic house cats are clean, my cat at home is definitely not, but I think she might be an exception to the rule more than anything else. But yes, lions, she's been rolling in the kill. She's been probably up to her head. I said that she was covered in mud. I now realize that that wasn't mud. That was dried buffalo internal organs. Now, we had a question from Sharon in Pittsburgh about how it is that lions show affection in terms of vocalizations. They don't purr, although they do make a very distinctive growling sound when they're trying to seduce the males to mate with them. So we heard that quite a bit from the one female who was trying to mate with the Birmingham boys. Those low-toned growls that are almost a purr. Now, I know that tigers chuff to show or to communicate with each other. Lions, I haven't really heard that so much especially between females. Females actually tend to be a lot less affectionate with their pride members than males tend to be. But a lot of the affection is not vocal. So it's shown through visual cues and then physical contact, like those head rubs that we saw earlier, where they take that opportunity not only to rub up against each other gently, but also to pass their scent onto each other. So it's a sort of mutual exchanging and common bonding through scent, through the smell that they carry, because that's particularly pungent around the face. So not only when they rub cheeks, it's not only physical touch, it's also that affection through the exchanging of smell. So much of their communication is through visual cues. Ouch, that hole is right in the wrong place. That must have been really quite painful. Doesn't seem to be bothering her though. She wasn't limping at all when she moved through here. I wonder when they killed this buffalo. This older female is up. There you go, for Sharon. Little signs of affection there. Sure, it seems like every time I see the Nkahuma Pride, there's one less member. At least in this circumstance, we know that that other female will be making her way back towards them.
Apparently, from stories I've heard, they killed about 60 lions. So from the south, and there's one moved up. They just wiped out the prides. And apparently, they didn't make it in the lions. I don't know how true that is.
You can see how round those bellies are looking, and some definite panting going on. I'm still scanning the bush around us for any sign of any other lions. I really was keeping my fingers crossed that we might see a more reunited Nkahuma Pride. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case.
When you come down from the Jacobay, there's a little competition right in the way. Come around there and make your way to the eastern bank.
Now, I promise when I have a moment I'll have a look at the buffalo carcass. From the limited view that I can see of it, I know, Tricia, you were wondering how much of it is left, and I'm sure many of the other viewers are also wondering. And I can still see from what peering through the bushes, it still looks like there's a lot of it left. She's going to go sit back down again, never mind. I thought she might go and feed on it a little bit more, but never mind. But we will take an opportunity at some point to reposition. I just went into the first gap that I could find so we can see these lionesses. Tricia, it looks like there's quite a lot of meat left. It definitely has that look to it like only 2 lionesses have been feeding on it, rather than a whole pride. And you'll remember from the days of the Nkahuma Pride in their prime, so to speak, when I first started working here, and they took down 2 buffalo, or 2 or 3 buffalo I think it was, in the space of basically 2 weeks. And it took them about 2 days for an 8-member pride, including a young male, to work their way all the way through. So this buffalo is going to keep these 2 females well fed, provided they don't meet up with any marauding males like the Birmingham boys. Now this sighting, there is one vehicle just leaving, and there is also another vehicle that's going to be coming in. And I'm going to have to direct them in here, which is going to be fairly tricky because, to be quite honest, I don't really know where I am. I have a rough idea, but beyond that I'm sort of working on vague directions. We basically just went off following the lioness. I also want to do a thorough loop around and just check. Let's go and have a look at the carcass and just make sure that there's no other lions hiding in the bush. And while I do that, let's head across to Scott and see what he's been up to, and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, and such awesome news. How exciting. You would have thought you would have found a whole buffalo kill and another lioness. So very happy things are continuing to go smoothly on Jamie's vehicle. Vim and I don't have too much to tell you about. We are busy off-roading in the hope that we could find some sign of Sindile, this young male leopard we came to look for. I also took a short walk through the thick area in the riverbed here where he likes to hang out, but didn't have any joy. But we are going to continue searching this area, maybe nip back in a little bit further west into Arethusa and see if we can't find any sign of his mother. So those are the plans from our side, but what we might be able to do shortly is stop and show you a beautiful view of the setting sun. Let me just get into a good spot. Might work. The wind has dropped and it's just a very, very slight breeze at the moment. It's a beautiful evening. You can hear a red-crested cormorant calling out in the background. Wonderful. Now, I'm not sure exactly where you guys are with Jamie and the buffalo kill, but I'm guessing you're not going to be seeing a sunset from there, so that's one of the perks of having two vehicles out on the safari. And on the topic of Sindile, who is this young male leopard we're searching for, Ellen has asked what would happen if they don't manage to get the required inoculations done for him. For those of you who don't know, he attacked a domestic dog and there's a strong likelihood that domestic dog was carrying rabies. So the problem is that now he needs to be inoculated. Ellen, if he does not get the required inoculations or the collar, which I think is unlikely to happen, but if it does not happen, then it would be the law that requires us, or not us personally, but the Sabi Sands, to exterminate that animal. So he would need to be euthanized if it does get to that point, but we're still a long way off from there, Ellen, so I don't think we have to worry about that, but that is the reality of the situation if he doesn't get the required treatments. So sad news, but the reality behind it is that he is potentially now carrying rabies and he could further spread this terrible disease off to other animals, which is the last thing we want. Obviously a very tricky scenario for anyone who's involved with it. And like I said yesterday, hopefully in the coming days we'll have a little bit more info from the Sabi Sands on the results from the tests done on that dog, because it'll obviously make a huge difference if it wasn't in fact rabid, and then we can all calm down and relax again. But for now they are following the necessary steps, or doing their best to do so. Franklin now calling off in the distance. Well, I don't think we're going to be able to show you the sunset in its entirety, as Jamie is back in a good spot with the view of the buffalo. But let's just give it a few more minutes anyway. The buffalo's not going anywhere and the sun's about to dip behind some clouds, so I think it's going to happen sooner than expected, and as soon as it's disappeared we will send you back to Jamie. So a slight change of plans there. And while we watch it disappear, we can just sit in silence and enjoy. Well, the cloud that I thought the sun was setting behind is kind of dissolved, and it looks like the sun is only now dipping below the Drakensberg. So let's send you back to Jamie and a little bit more action across there, and we'll continue our search for the leopard. See you later.
Welcome back, and we've taken the moment to reposition just to give you a slightly better view of the carcass. It's right in the middle of quite a thick block, so the visual's not fantastic, but one of the lionesses did get up to go and start feeding, and you can see what I mean when I said there's a lot of meat left. Although we can't see the back end, you can still see there's plenty of meat padding out around the back end, around the hips and the shoulders as well, so there's plenty of meat still left. They probably occupied themselves first and foremost with eating the very highly nutritious internal organs like the liver and the kidneys before moving on to the tougher meat around the edges. And although she is eating, she's not really tucking in. She's just nibbling away at the edges. She's trying to pull it into position so that she can get in. But just look at the size difference between that lioness and that buffalo in terms of weight. That is not a small buffalo they took down. They didn't take down a sub-adult or anything like that. They took down an adult male buffalo, 2 lionesses. These really are quite incredible animals, these Nkuhuma girls. And she's tucking into the bitter... Oh, she's got the eye. That was fairly gruesome. But Mary in Michigan, welcome to the Sunset Safari. You've mentioned that before the rains there were a couple of old Duggar boys who were limping around and looking in fairly poor condition. And you were wondering whether or not it was possible it was one of those. And absolutely, that was my first thought as well. That was my first consideration. Looking at this buffalo, it's very difficult because it is in a thick area, but it doesn't look thin by any means. It looks in fairly good condition, but I can't see its back legs. The legs that I do see look fine, but I'm sure there's a good chance that it was limping with some sore ankle or something along those lines. Just a weakness that might have made it a little bit easier for these two girls to have brought down a buffalo like this. And she's decided it's not worth the effort of peeling back the thick skin around the rump. She's instead tackling the muscles around the face and the jaw. She's still struggling to get in. I think that at times like these it also helps to have a male to help pull and peel back that really, really thick, very strong skin layer. Hey, how are you? Just saying hello to one of the Buffelshoek landowners. Just giving it a good tug, trying to get in there. You can see the way she's trying to angle her face so that she can use the scraping edges of her molars to get in as well. Still struggling to pull that skin back. The flies are definitely irritating her as well. Either way, a buffalo with a limp is still a considerable challenge for two lionesses. These buffalo are incredibly powerful and they fight, obviously, they fight very hard and very enthusiastically to stay alive. And there's a huge number of stories of lions being killed during buffalo hunts. And even with big prides, with a male or two, it sometimes takes them a long time to take down a buffalo. So I'm not sure how long these females struggled for last night. And it does look to me like this happened either last night or early this morning. She's given up on the face now. Gone back into the stomach cavity to see what she can get from there. I don't think there's too much there. She doesn't look too impressed. She might even give it up for now and head back to where her other lioness is. Ooh. A little bit disagreed with her there. She didn't throw up, but she did gag a little bit. And there she's going to make her way back to the other lioness. Oh, that was, oh, my word. That's quite the smell that's blowing in our direction. Now, we have a question from Sandy in Palm Springs. Sandy would like to know if this buffalo is in a place where the vultures or the hyenas won't find it. It is tucked away in quite thick bush, so I think it might take the vultures a while to. That being said, it just takes one to spot it, and then the rest of them will descend at the rate of knots. And interestingly enough, when we had that buffalo kill, I'm not sure if you remembered back or if you were watching, we had a buffalo kill on Buffalo Skull Donga in Arathusa. It was a big open drainage line. This buffalo was right out in the open, absolutely nothing there to hide it away, and the vultures never came. And yet, we had the buffalo kill that the Nkuhumas killed in the drainage line that the Birmingham boys then chased them away from. And that's probably the most vultures I've ever seen in this area. So there's a little bit of luck involved as well, in terms of vultures finding it. As for hyena, well, I can promise you that they already know it's here. Just judging by the level of the smell, they've got incredibly powerful senses of smell. They will have sniffed this out a while ago. It could be that they just happen to know that there's 2 lionesses on guard. But I'm sure they'll be around later tonight. I'm just going to reposition slightly so that we can get a slightly different view, and also so that we can light up the scene a little bit in a moment. Let me just try and loop around a bit. Oh, got another full-on whiff of it. I'm usually quite good with the scent of carcasses, but there's something about this one, maybe because it's been warm today and it's been sitting in the sun. It might be that's why it's quite so smelly. Well, hi Steve. Don't worry, you didn't miss too much action. Essentially, we just followed the lioness back from the dam and found the buffalo kill. We haven't seen any of this happen. I think that this buffalo kill is from sometime, maybe last night, possibly earlier this morning, but most likely last night. Cheers, Quibus. It was quite a surprise, however. I wasn't expecting to find it here. And for quite a long time as I was driving after the lioness, I thought that it was a log until the smell hit. And that's what first alerted me. But it is so nice, Steve, to see these 2 lionesses, and incredibly impressive to know that they took down at some point, probably last night, just because they would have had to have every advantage, and it was a little bit cloudy last night, which might have helped them out. They would have needed every factor on their side to be able to take down an animal like a big full-grown male buffalo, which is why I think it was from last night. Also, they haven't consumed too much of it, but it is only 2 of them. And one of them has suffered a little bit of an injury as a result, and I would say almost certainly obtained during that buffalo hunt. And they definitely do have very full bellies, as she lies there on her back like that. You can see it very clearly. And sorry, Raisa, I should have been more clear. They have opened it. They've opened up the stomach contents. The stomach contents are out, which is why what I originally mistook for mud earlier on when we first saw it at the dam. No, they have opened it, and they've fed on probably all of the organs, although I can't see fully into the buffalo. What I meant by she was trying to open it is she's trying to now that they've consumed most of it from the abdominal cavity that they can reach, she's trying to pull and peel back the skin from around the muscle of the rump and then the shoulders. And there's a surprisingly large amount of very strong connective tissue. So it's difficult for them to get at that meat from inside the abdomen, so she's trying to open it up from behind. That is what I meant by opening it up. They have opened the abdominal cavity up, they just haven't managed to peel back the skin and start feeding on the bulk of the muscle around that. But they've eaten all of the most nutritious part, and that's why they look so full and contented and cuddly. And I'm so impressed with these 2. You know, the other day we saw 3 of them, or the other night we saw those 3 of them hunting when both Brent and I were on that sighting. And we saw the lions rushing forward only to be chased back again by the buffalo that they were trying to hunt. And we will never know exactly what happened here last night, but we can just imagine the incredible game of life and death that went on in this block, in the dark. It's actually quite a phenomenal thought. The flies are driving them mad. I don't know, I haven't been plagued too much with the flies. I don't know about you, Jeandre, but I haven't really been bothered. Ah. Here's something. There's a lot of... I said I haven't been plagued by flies, but almost immediately I've got some of them coming through. But it's the nice thing about sitting at a lion sighting like that is usually, or like this, is that usually most of the flies go to the lions. She's gone to reposition herself. Oops, sorry. Got my head out of the way. We try and re-angle our light a little bit. You can see the flies driving them mad. The ears flapping, tail flapping. Definitely irritating her. Oof. And they've definitely earned their right to be relaxed. Now there's some confusion about who these two lionesses are. Let's just tick off what we know. Originally when we saw the one female at the dam side, I thought that she was the lioness who's been mating with the Birmingham boys. I'm still not sure, but I think now it's safe to say it isn't, although we'd have to really do a proper comparison of the whisker spots to tell. At that point I didn't know there was another lioness sitting with a buffalo kill in here, which we've now found. We've also got the update from Nkoro that there is a lioness mating with the Birmingham boys still, and it's one of the Nkuhuma lionesses. I can only tell you that we've got 2 Nkuhuma lionesses. There were 3 just over a week ago hunting buffalo coming from Arathusa. There's now 2. The other one will be the lioness that is mating with the Birmingham boys. And since we do have these 2 lionesses here, I think it's safe to say that the girl that we started the sunset safari with at the dam is not the same one who has been mating with the Birmingham boys. So there we go, ending a little bit of confusion there for, I'm sure, a lot of the viewers. Don't worry, I was very confused as well. It's quite difficult to recognize a lion straight away in the field. I knew that she was an Nkuhuma lioness, and because she had the scratches on the side, I suspected it might be the one that was mating. At that point also thinking that she was alone. So there you go, dear. A bit of clarification. A little thin tree trunk makes a perfect paw rest at times. Now, we have a question still to continue with the dynamics as to what's been going on here. I have a question from Soylance, He was wondering how many nkuhumas there are left in the pride. To the best of our knowledge, let me try and give you the summary. There's these two, plus the third, who was mating with the Birmingham boys. So that we've got 3 accounted for. Now, originally we believed that both of the subadult females had been killed. However, there is one still alive, and she hooked up with Junior on Simbambili, and then they were joined by the 4th Nkuhuma lioness that's missing. So there's 3 of them, last seen on Simbambili, which was 1 Nkuhuma lioness, Junior, and the subadult male. And then there's these 2, and then there's the female who's mating, which essentially makes for 6 individuals left of the Nkuhuma pride. Not too bad. That's actually much better than we expected, especially with that 1 subadult cub still surviving. That's really, really good news. Why she chose to stay with Junior, we don't know, and it's something that WildEarth has never been able to actually show on one of our live safaris, because they've only ever been seen across our boundaries, either on Simbambili or Buffelshoek. And every now and again we'd get this tantalizing update that they were moving across by Gowrie Gate, but we never quite managed to catch them in the act, so to speak. But I hope that kind of answers your question. It is a little bit confusing at the moment, and that is just because they're in such a state of flux right now. These lions are kind of all over the place. So there's 3 somewhere, probably Simbambili. There's 2 here, and there's 1 mating with the Birmingham boys south of the property. That's it, I think, as far as I know. To the best of my knowledge, that is it. But I must say, these 2 have shown themselves to be a force to be reckoned with. To have taken down a buffalo like this. Now, fortunately, at the moment in our position, we're not on the smelliest side of the buffalo carcass. But Donna, you would like a description of what it smells like. It definitely doesn't smell like any beef that you might buy from the butchers or from the shops to cook. It's definitely lost that aroma a little while ago. If I had to describe it for you, yes, I think a carcass on the side of the road, some roadkill, might be quite a good... Oh, coming in for a cuddle. I think roadkill is quite a good description. Imagine 800 kilograms of steak being left out in the sun for a day or so, possibly even more, and sort of stewing in the skin, because the skin hasn't been opened, so it's got plenty of insulation surrounding it. And then factor in the combination of lion scat, which is kind of been sitting, moving through their digestive system. And especially when they first have a kill, they eat the richest organs first, which usually gives them a bit of diarrhea. So there's a couple of those scattered around. And then last but not least, there is the grassy overtones of the stomach contents. So that buffalo has eaten grass before it died, which were then busy fermenting within its abdominal cavity and have now been let loose in creating the mush that you can see covering the elbow of this lion, or this lioness. So sensory update, it is quite, in summary, it is quite smelly here. It's a smell that I'm very used to, but it is a smell that takes it up to a whole different level in spring and summer. Just perfect paw rest. Very sweet. it's an oddly peaceful scene. I mean, I know that we're right next to a buffalo kill, but we've got these cuddling lions and the evening chorus of all of the birds putting themselves to bed. Now both Gerda and Lynn, and I'm sure many of the other viewers, and myself included, are wondering where the amber-eyed lioness is. Now I'm afraid to say I don't really have an answer on that. I'm not too sure where she is. She's obviously not one of these two, and as far as we could tell, she's not that lioness. She's definitely not the lioness who was mating with the Birmingham boys. That only really leaves us with the idea that she's gone to go and join Junior and the Nkuhuma sub-adult. That's a guess from my part, because, correct me if I'm wrong, please feel free to, did we not see the amber-eyed female when the three of them were hunting those buffalo? No, we didn't. So that's where she is. That, I think, is our answer. I'm just trying to remember back to that scene, and I don't think we picked out the amber-eyed female hunting the buffalo when it was just the three. Well, give me your feedback, because I honestly don't remember seeing her. Let me know what it is you think. I'm not too sure. But if we didn't see her, then we have an answer. Then she's with Junior and the sub-adult female. And it could even be that she is the mother of those, or she was the mother of the two sub-adults. She's now the mother of the one sub-adult female, which is why she's chosen to stick with them. I haven't heard an update from them or about them in probably about 3 or 4 days. Last I heard, they were crossing between Simbambili and the corner of Buffelshoek. Hello, big girl. Flopping down right next to the car in the grass. There's a lot of confusion happening with the Nkuhuma lionesses at the moment. My suspicion is she's with Junior and the sub-adult, but I honestly don't know. And that is pure supposition, because by now she could have separated, she could have moved off, she could be even mating with a different male lion somewhere in the area. We just don't know. Look at all of the flies buzzing around her. No wonder her tail is so busy swishing. See, they're positively crowded round her. It must be absolutely infuriating, especially when they get onto those soft whisker spots or around the eye. But she's still a very happy, very full lioness. And I mentioned earlier when we were with that lioness who was lying by the dam that I didn't think she was a very old lioness. Her teeth were in fairly good condition. As well as her nose still looked fairly pink. And that's the one at... Which one is it now? It's the one that's closest to us, I think. She's still got a great deal of pink on her nose. And her teeth still look good. So Tracy, you were wondering how old she is? She's a young lioness. I'm not sure exactly how old. I would put her at about 3. maybe a bit older, about four or so. It's hard to tell. I want to just see her teeth. She's past the sub-adult stage, so let's put her at 3 or 4 years old. The one at the back is a little bit older. She definitely looked older to me. Her nose was almost completely black. It's not the world's most reliable way of aging lions, but it gives you a nice indication. The best way is to actually have a look at the wear and tear of their canines. But I need her to yawn for us to do that. I'm trying to work out exactly when last we saw the amber-eyed lioness, and if it was at that buffalo hunt or not. Please send through your screenshots and let's double check my memory. And the female that we've seen mating with the Birmingham boys, she will be coming out of her estrus in the next few days, or her false estrus at any rate. And at that point, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm hoping these two lionesses are going to stay here for at least another day or two, depending on, obviously, what happens with the hyenas tonight and what action there is around here. It will be interesting to see if she comes back to them. I'm just trying to work out in terms of timing when she should be done. And unfortunately, she's still got quite a few days to go. Typically, it lasts for about 5 to 7 days, those mating sessions. So she'll only be sort of coming back and looking for the rest of her pride around Thursday or Friday. But it will definitely give us something to look out for. And we'll be returning here as often as possible to try and get updates on these two females. I'm really hoping they manage to defend their carcass tonight against marauding hyenas. Two females like this, it would take a lot of hyenas to chase them off the kill, but it's not impossible. If the clan that is at the den, which is just working it out about 4 kilometers from here, if they were all to band together, if there was to reach numbers sort of around 10 or 15 hyena, they would definitely be able, or more than capable, of chasing these lionesses off the kill. And since we do have very sleepy lionesses at the moment, and not too much happening here since we've discovered this kill, let us head across to Scott and see what he has to update you on, and then I will be back with you once again for the last few minutes of the sunset safari. See you in a bit.
Welcome back, everyone. And Vim and I have come up with nothing both this morning and this afternoon, really. That's how it goes out here, and it's been most pleasant to be out, and thankfully Jamie's done a wonderful job entertaining you guys on the safari this afternoon. And how awesome that That sighting of the 2 lioness came in as a big surprise today. Let's hope that maybe the rest of the Nkahuma pride managed to find those 2 ladies this evening and we get to see all of them together in the morning. Wouldn't that be great? There's been no sightings of Junior for quite some time now, and the other lioness. Now, on a less happy note, there is some interesting news that I need to share with you guys, and that is that the report for the dog that was exterminated, the same dog that Sindile caught a few days ago, the rabies test did prove positive. So it's not the end of the world, and everyone just needs to take a deep breath. Obviously we would have much preferred if the news had have been that that test came back negative, but the good news is that there are plans, and there is still a very strong chance that the Sabi Sands will be able to get the necessary inoculations done for this leopard to not be exterminated. It is obviously a very, very dangerous disease, rabies, and it's a killer of many, many animals and even potentially humans. So it's something that cannot be played with, it cannot be toyed with, and we have complete faith and trust in the Sabi Sands in trying their best to get this job done effectively. And what that means is, as far as I'm aware, and I do stand to be corrected, is that basically it will need 4 more inoculations in the very near future, and thereafter it may need 1 inoculation every year for the rest of its life. That's as far as I'm aware and as far as I've been told, but there could be some other twists in the tail. But we thought that we needed to update you on every step of the way. We've only just got that information a few minutes ago and thought we would keep you guys all in the loop. So, progress and updates we hear on that. Oh, well, happy to hear that Valma is happy to be away from the lion, because she now knows there's a chance that we may find a bush baby, a tiny little nocturnal primate. And Valma, I'm going to do my best to either find you one of those, or failing that, maybe a little chameleon. To be honest, this is not the best area for bush babies. Well, I say that only because I haven't seen one yet. But maybe we will get pleasantly surprised. And failing a bush baby, like I say, there are other nocturnal animals, the chameleon not being one of them. They'll be fast asleep, but are a lot easier to spot at night with the aid of a spotlight. Maybe a white-tailed mongoose running around the quarantine clearings. There's a resident up there who's quite relaxed with the vehicles, which is great. Maybe we can start thinking very positively and throw out the aardvark and the pangolin as 2 potential suspects that we could bump into. Neither of which we have managed to show you since I've been here November last year. So that gives some of the newer viewers an idea of how rare it would be to see a pangolin or an aardvark out here. It's not that they don't exist here, but they usually are moving around in the later hours of the night. Some more sad news on the topic of the bad stuff that can happen out here. A female cheetah was found up in Buffelshoek, dead, and I'm not too sure what was the cause of the death, but I'd seen a scorpion there, but it was just a leaf on the road. And the guys that found it seemed to think the carcass was about a day or 2 old, so it hadn't been freshly killed. But the Sabi Sands have already come up into that area and I think possibly taken some samples, or maybe even taken the whole carcass away for testing. Now I've killed my lights because I've seen a vehicle up on the horizon stopping for their sundowner or moon upper at this stage of the evening. So we're just going to try and our best not to interfere with their evening and blind them with our bright lights. Good evening. How are you doing, Craig? Just driving around, hopefully. Poor old Craig doesn't sometimes realize that it's probably not the best time for us to stop and chat when we're live. So it's nothing personal against him, but we are focusing on you guys at the moment. And had I not been live, I probably would have stopped and cracked open a beverage of sorts, seeing as it's the end of the evening and time to start unwinding. Not that I had too much work to do this afternoon, because Jamie did it all, which I'm grateful for. Come on, bush babies for Velma. Still on the topic of Sindile and rabies, Smiles and Mary have pointed out interesting thing, and that is that would Shadow now have to be inoculated, because there's a strong chance that her and Sindile have come into contact. And I'm not too sure about that, but it is a very good point. We'll be sure to ask the Sabi Sands on their thoughts about that. I'm not too sure exactly how it works though, but certainly a very good point, and we will bring it up with them when we discuss this matter further. We're obviously going to be trying to get as much info out of them as possible, and that is certainly a very good point. So there is a chance that may happen. To be honest though, for me, what I don't understand is that there will be a lot of domestic dogs that break into this reserve that have rabies, as it's typically when there isn't rabies outbreak that the dogs do break in. When they don't have rabies, they're happy to stay in the surrounding villages, but when they do, they come into the reserves. Now, had we have not been around to see Sindile catch that dog, what would have happened to him? You know, what would be the outcome be? And there's a lot of animals in the Sabi Sands that will not be seen catching and killing rabid dogs. So that'll be another question I'm going to ask them, because like we've said before, so much goes on here without our knowledge after darkness when we're not around, and I'd be interested to know what their thoughts are on that. Very good question though, and like I say, we'll try and get as much info for you on that topic. No bush babies, no chameleons, no owls. Come on. Okay, well, it's coming to the end of the show, so I'm going to say my thank yous, starting off with VM on camera, and then the girls in final control, Jess and Nikki, and then of course you guys for following and sending through all of your questions, and for all the support you have given us, not only today, but over the last weeks, months and year we're approaching. It's almost our 1 year anniversary of being here, so that's exciting times. And without any further ado, let's send you back to the Lion with Jamie for the last few minutes. We'll see you all on the Sunrise Safari.
Welcome back, and Some heavy news about the dog that Sindile caught, and obviously we will be doing everything in our power to help them relocate him whenever he needs his booster shots for the rabies, and we'll help to keep him safe as much as possible. But now we're back to these lionesses. There was a very brief moment where she looked up and alert off into the bushes, and a group of Duggar boys had just stumbled in, but they immediately turned and disappeared again, and the lioness didn't show too much interest in them. I think they are fairly well fed. Oh, going flat again. But at least our good news for the day, we have at least 2 Nkuhuma lionesses who are still alive and well, and another one that is off mating with the Birmingham boys. And as soon as we hear any further updates as to where the missing lioness Amber Eyes is, we'll pass them on to you once we do know. But definitely an unexpected way for the evening to end. When I heard there was one lone lioness at Gowrie Dam, I certainly didn't expect us to find a full-on buffalo kill in the block. But it's just one of those wonderful and unexpected things about a live safari. It's just the way that it goes. I thank you all for your help that you've given in terms of identifying the various lionesses that we have been seeing and getting through all of those incredible questions that we have. I do really appreciate hearing from you. And a big thank you, of course, to Jean-Dre for all of his fantastic camera work. 3 of the big 5 in less than an hour is not a bad way to start a sunset safari, and it's only got better. And a big thank you to Jess for her fantastic directing, along with Nikki and all of Eugene's technical work in fighting off those gremlins for you. Now we will be right back here tomorrow morning for the sunrise safari to see what these lionesses have been up to during the night, and if they've managed to safely defend their kill from any marauding hyenas. But for now, let's end off with some nice silence in the view of the lioness and the sounds of the African bush on a summer evening after the rains. Cheers guys, have a wonderful day wherever you are.